Mr. Ash just gave us a nod.
Oh,
Quiet
well,
on the
I'm
set.
still gassing over here.
It's Viewpoint, the program of personality, politicians, and perspective.
They don't call me motor mouth for nothing, you know.
That was your daddy, not me. Well, at least have this with us this morning. We have all three. We have a perspective. We have a personality, certainly. And we have a politician by virtue of the fact that you have to run for office. So therefore, he becomes officially a politician. Kudos this morning. Once again, the highway departments and the folks who clear the streets and so on got to go to work.
Oh, gosh.
And it's been as we all know, it's been a character builder this winter here. They've had more than their share, and certainly I'm certain that the road conditions have spilled over into the activities of the Sheriff's Department. But kudos to the folks who try hard to keep those roads clear. Sometimes the populace don't quite cooperate with them, leave their cars out on the street and so forth, or boats. Not a good idea. But in any event, kudos to those folks who work hard on that.
Jim, you're a little slow on the uptake.
Or both singular, as the case may be. So, do you have anything to add this morning, my dear?
No, I'm just anxious to speak with our guest.
Yeah, well.
Well, yesterday I went on a long walk with my youngest great-grandchild. Now look today.
Tell us how old that is.
You couldn't push a buggy through this today, could you?
No,
not a chance.
No,
now, how about all your people? Oh, dear, let me say this about that.
Why don't you say this about that?
Our guest today is Steve Nichols, Sheriff Exceptional of the County of Logan. How about all your people who are out on the highways and byways in the county? Do they get up this morning and say, oh, my gosh?
Well, are you talking about my deputies or just the people?
Your deputy people.
No, really the roads weren't too bad this morning. I mean, the plows were out early, saw them out early. They were by my house before 5 a.m. and so it was okay out. I mean, you just take your time, realize the winter's not all the way over yet, and it's getting closer though. And
well, yeah.
So I don't think
it'll be July before you know it. This will be gone.
I know it will be. So, and then we'll be going. Boy, it's hot.
As we officially introduce our candidate here this morning, I'd like to give you a quote about politics. This comes from nobody but Nikita Khrushchev. We might remember him. I think he pounded the table with his shoe and said, "We'll bury you from within." I'm afraid he's about right too about that silliness. Anyway. He says, politicians are the same all over. They promise to build a bridge even when there's no river.
Well, we're doing that right here in Logan County.
Why are we, by the way,
tearing it down first.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
And I know that you can't give an official answer, but that's the Illinois Department of Transportation, I guess. It seems to me that it's a gross waste of time to quote, straighten out that bridge, which I didn't think was much of a problem. And if they needed to build a new bridge, they could have come in there and built a new bridge right where it was. Do you have a comment about that, Sheriff?
Well, I guess
you're running for office. Remember this.
We've driven that road when it was old 66 and it had the same old curve in it. I guess the engineers know better than I. So
I'm not certain.
I'm not going to sit here and question them on that. I wish it was done. I know that.
Yeah. Oh well.
It will be in November or later.
November or later. The key words there are or later.
Yeah, right.
I'll bet you on the or later business. Well, we haven't officially introduced the candidate. We just kind of alluded to the fact that he is a sheriff. He's running again. You want to make an official introduction of this fellow?
Steve has been the sheriff now for 7.
I finished my 12th year.
12 years. Yeah. My gosh. Has it been that long?
Yes, it has, Judy.
Well, you've seen an awful lot in 12 years.
Not all of which we would want.
The beginning of your service to the county was rough, to say the least. Things that were very unusual. And I'm sure that ever since then it's been going on in the same vein. Well, although not quite so dramatic.
Well, things that I saw early on helped guide me to what I thought we need to do with the sheriff's office. Plain and simple. when you see things go on out at Kickapoo Park that you know, normally you want to go out there and you want to see people walking and jogging and enjoying the park. You don't want to go out there and find a crime scene.
No.
You know, and that seemed to be the course that we were headed down. And during those first couple of years, you know, other things happened. You know, we had Louis Russo over in Mount Pulaski. 8 months later, you know, Robin Graham up in San Jose. We just had a lot of things going on in Logan County that shouldn't have been, and that's what kind of guided me in making decisions on what we need to do at the sheriff's office.
Let's talk about that guidance, Steve, because that's what's important. Seeing the awful things and trying to prevent them from happening again instead of just hopping around putting out brush fires.
Right. Well, 02, 03, 04, you know, methamphetamine was the choice of drug. And we had a whole lot of people here in Logan County. This wasn't a drug that got brought into Logan County. This is a drug that they could manufacture here in Logan County. Yes.
Homemade,
You know, we had cooks going on everywhere. And at that time, the sheriff's office, we were part of the Central Illinois Enforcement Group, the SIG group with the state police. We did have a member in there. It's a great organization, no doubt about it. Don't have any ill feelings toward them or anything. But for me, for what I was observing, the impact wasn't quick enough. Because the Central Illinois Enforcement Group, if people don't know, it covers a lot of Central Illinois. It covers Morgan County, Menard County at the time, Mason County, Sangamon County, Christian County. Wow. So the person you had assigned to that group was working in all those counties also.
That's a lot of territory.
It's a lot of territory. And during that time, there was things going on here that needed to get done. And so I just decided we were going to do it ourselves. We had the manpower, we had the knowledge, and we had the ability. So why not tackle it ourselves too? Now, we still work with the SIG group. We exchange information, but we also exchange information with the Decatur PD task force, the dirt team in Sangamon County. You know, we exchange information. We just don't shut them out or go on our own. They call us with asking us, hey, do you know these guys? Yeah, we know these guys. We know what they do. They got a case on them. Good for them. We'll give you whatever we can,
right,
you know, to help you. So we all help each other. It's just that we've taken a different course. Here in Lincoln and Logan County, we needed to slow it down. I mean, we all saw how the heroin overdoses in the last 18 months have hit. We lost 5 people here in Logan County. So in my mind, I want to make a quick, hard impact on the people that are selling it here. Yeah, they're going somewhere else to get it. We could work a conspiracy, but conspiracy cases take months, if not years. You know, we had to do something to make an impact. The Central Illinois Enforcement Group, I'm all for them. They can do the conspiracies. We'll do the footwork here in our county, and that's what I look at. And contrary to popular belief, it works. What we've done has worked. You know, we go out and we do our roundups like we do. Things slow down and dry up for several months in Logan County. It takes them a while because they don't know who's coming next. You know, they don't know, so they back off. And things get...
undercover work, you sheriff?
The undercover work is done by my detectives, my deputies, my chief deputy, and by me. When they're out there making a drug buy, I'm out there too. I'm laying in the weeds. I'm hiding in a car. It's a group effort. It's not just me sitting back going, hey, go get that done. No, I'm part of it. The whole department's part of it. We'll pull deputies in off shifts. They'll come in. I mean, that's why sometimes you see me run around in jeans and a T-shirt during the day. That's because that afternoon we're going to make a dope buy. You know, so it's just a myriad of different things we do. The way they do it isn't wrong, and the way we do it isn't wrong. It's just that I want to make an impact right here and slow things down, and then that gives them the opportunity to work their conspiracy, to go after the guy that's in Chicago or maybe over in Decatur where it's coming in. But our guys here are going there to pick it up. You know, we've got middlemen here. We don't have top men, but we've got middlemen. You take the middleman out, they got to take the time to find another middleman to send in. And by the time they do that, we're ready for them next. If you look at our history, what we've done, you know, about every 18 months to 2 years, we make a big roundup. We've done it since I started this back in 04, 05. You know, over 140 arrests, over 140 convictions. Well, not 140 convictions yet. We still got 5 more to go off this current group. You know, but we're going to get them, and we're going to keep doing it that way. I firmly believe in it, and we're making a difference because we're taking our locals then. They're the ones that are getting into drug court. They're the ones that are getting off their heroin, you know, because what they're doing, they're coming in, they're giving it to them for free. Said, here you go, try this. Well, then they're hooked.
Then they are.
Then they don't have the money. Then our burglaries go up. Then our thefts go up. You know, when we make a definite and quick impact on drugs, we're also making an impact on our burglaries, our thefts, and everything else that goes on in Logan County. You know, they go out in the county, they break into farmers' barns, they steal copper, they steal whatever they can, generators, they take them to the pawn shops. It's a quick turnaround because all they need is 20 or 40 bucks to buy their next fix. And it's a daily thing.
Boy.
But that amounts to an awful lot of robberies over there.
Oh, yes, it does.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, it does. And
For
we've
one
locked them up, too.
Am I correct in understanding that heroin seems to be the current problem as opposed to meth? Am I correct in that?
Yes, heroin kind of took that over, but the heroin is also connected to the Vicodin, hydrocodone, that people that have gotten hooked on prescription pills.
I was going to say, you're talking about prescription stuff there when you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And how can they abuse that, I wonder?
Well, you take the Vicodin and hydrocodone, you get the same kind of a high, I guess, as you do from the heroin, and that's why a lot of them move on to the heroin then. Those two are interlocked.
Is it more difficult to find the person who is dispensing the legal prescription drugs?
Well, I don't know of anybody. I mean, the people dispensing the legal drugs are going out and they're writing the false prescriptions themselves.
They write them themselves.
Yeah, they'll steal scripts, or else sometimes you've got, you know, people that are involved with the Department of Professional Regulation, nurses that maybe have, you know, a drug problem, or even doctors. I mean, it's not limited to just, you know, one certain group. A lot of people have issues, and they'll go out and sell the pills, 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks. The price has been going up over the last couple of years. But as far as the meth, after I think it was somewhere around 20 people we sentenced to prison in the 2 years over the meth. And those weren't just, that's when the meth laws came out and they really put stringent sentencing guidelines down. I mean, we've sent people away for 15 to 20 years on the meth that are still locked up today. That caught people's attention. You know, it caught their attention. And so meth kind of dried up. Plus, the one good thing the state did do is putting the pills behind the counter, where you had to show an ID and you could only get so many. You know, that was great. And plus, going out and working with the farmers and working with the Farm Bureau, saying, hey, pull your tanks in, don't leave them sitting out in the field, don't leave them so readily accessible, and don't leave them sitting during the winter full. You know, empty your tanks. You know, they knew it. If, you know, they drive by a fertilizer plant, you got full tanks of anhydrous out there. Look at all the fertilizer companies we got. You know, it was easy for them to go do. So going out and talking to them and working with them, you know, that helped put an end to it. You know, last summer was the first real arrest that we'd made in quite a few years on methamphetamine, and we arrested 3 people that were cooking and selling them.
You have, on several instances, brought up the camaraderie and establishing relationships, not only between you and your deputies, but between you and the public. That a priority?
It always is. I mean, I want to be able to work with my deputies, and I want them to respect what I say and what our goal is. I mean, I think a few years ago we kind of lost sight that we work for the people. You know, we work for them. They don't work for us. And it's up to us to be respectful to them and to help them, you know, no matter what type of issue they're having. You get paid to do that. And I think by them showing our, you know, for me being able to show them that the public comes first, everything else after that, you know, falls into a certain order. And I think now with the department we have, we've grown over the last 10 years. People would call it a personnel issue. I call it, getting the right people issue. We've hired a lot of good people. Some of them have went on to the Illinois State Police and bigger police departments to make more money.
Yeah.
Understandable. But I'm going to hire good people. I'm not going to hire somebody just because I think they're going to stay for 20 years. I'm not going to do it. And that can lead into problems, and we've seen what kind of problems can happen within police departments. And working for the people and then going out and working with them. Going out in the field and not being afraid to lay in the bushes, not being afraid to go out and handle the accident, not being afraid to go out and do an investigation. And I've went out and done that since I've been there.
I know that, but there's got to be an element of fear involved in this job. My gosh, it's hours of boredom interspersed with moments of sheer terror.
Well, I tell you, I've been around it since I was a kid, so I guess
Yes, you
sometimes,
have.
Yeah, you have been around it. haven't you?
sometimes I guess maybe I take that for granted because, I like to think that I can read people. I can, I've been interviewing people for 25 years. I've been around people. I've been in homes. I've been in every school in the Tri-County area, and I've worked with people, and I like to think, I know when, for lack of better terms, there's a pucker factor involved, or when we can just sit there and talk to people. And I think that's where my experience weighs out, and I think that's what the deputies see. There's a time to come on point, and there's a time just to stand there, relax, talk to the people, get them to understand we're not here to harm you, we're here to help you. We may have to arrest you, but this is what we have to do. And I think it's just portraying that element, is the biggest thing I can do.
I'd like your stance on two of the things that are in the news day in and day out, and that's concealed carry and the legalization of marijuana. Your position?
Conceal and carry, I'm a farm boy. I've been around guns. I like to hunt. So I'm a proponent of conceal and carry, especially the way the country's going these days. But with conceal and carry, there comes a responsibility also. We have to be responsible in our home. We have to be responsible in making sure our kids don't have access to the guns. That's why we work with Project Child Safe. That's why we hand out free gun locks to whoever wants them. So if you're out there and need a gun lock, come see us. We'll provide them to you so you can lock your guns up and keep them.
I was not aware of that.
Yes, and keep them safe at home. But the law is so watered down. I mean, your conceal and carry license is good for 5 years. During that 5 years, you don't have to requalify or go out and shoot. You should. If you're going to carry that weapon, you should be familiar with it all the time. Okay? Your FOID card has to be valid. And if you're carrying your firearm, you also have to have your conceal and carry license with you.
With you.
With
on
you.
your person.
Yes. You can't just say, I forgot it at home. That doesn't count. Okay? So whenever you go into restaurants, they can post. They have to visibly post it. They can't hide it. But restaurants can ban the conceal and carry. We know our schools, parks. There's a whole big list of places you can't carry the weapon.
The hospital has the decals on every door.
Yes. So, and they have to obey that. If they're in violation of it, they can be arrested for it. Bars that serve food, there's a certain percentage that if the bar is 50% food or more, you can carry. But if not, you can't. I mean, so
That's a pretty finite difference.
well, the finite problem is how do we know how much their receipts are for their food and that? So we have to pay particular care to what we do there. And on something like that, if there's a question, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the person to leave. And then we're going to send the report to the state's attorney's office, and then we'll find out what the exact receipts are.
Yeah.
We're not going to just jump in there and just start pulling people out when we don't know. We're going to find out first. Time's on our side. We can make the arrest later if we have to.
Do you feel that there's been any impact on this county being the home of 2 prisons?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think a lot of people have moved in simply because their loved ones are incarcerated out here. But I'm not going to say they're the total problem for some of the problems we have. That'd be unfair to them.
Yeah.
Some of the people that we deal with, don't have anybody living out, residing out at Lincoln or Logan Correctional Center, but some of them do, and some of them do bring problems with them, so, some of it can come from, not only drug problems, but there may be domestic issues, there may be other issues, so I would say it's probably a 50-50 kind of split. It's probably some problems are, but not all of them.
Speaking of 50-50, if we don't take a minute to give our sponsors a word or two here, about 50% into the program, we're going to get fired. So we will now take a commercial break.
Get those sponsors happy.
Yeah, right back live in the studio here. Viewpoint is the program. Our guest this morning is Sheriff Steve Nichols. The fellow's been around here a day or two, and Steve is in the contest in next week, as a matter of fact, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's coming around fast. And we're glad to have him with us. Last week, we had his opponent, Mark Garretts, and this being like Fox News, fair and open and honest, we're very happy to have the incumbent sheriff back with us today. Considerable amount of experience, Steve. How many, 35 years, something like that?
35 years of investigative and law enforcement experience.
I'd say that's a pretty good dossier.
That's a long run, but
that's
We've
documentation.
Tried.
That's
We've tried.
Great documentation. How many sheriffs do we have in the county? I mean, how many deputies? I'm sorry.
Deputies,
Yes.
total law enforcement staff for the sheriff's office, including myself, there's 20 of us.
20.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we're getting a pretty good bang for our buck up there in that office. The service that the sheriff has rendered these constituents here in Logan County. Of course, the most famous thing is this tragedy that you had to encounter on your watch, is this tragedy over in Beeson. I don't want you to have to recount all that as a respect to you, but do you have any comments about the resolution of that and so forth? I'll just, as Bill O'Reilly says, and you say. So go ahead, Steve.
Well, I think the resolution that Chris Harris was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms pretty well says it all. And his brother was sentenced to 20 years for just basically not coming forward and telling somebody that it happened. That investigation, out of everything I've ever done in my life and been involved with in my life, was not something that you could characterize as standard operating procedure.
No.
You know, when someone makes a statement like that, they've never been involved with anything like that, because I guarantee you, I didn't have anybody calling me up that night asking to switch spots with me.
Oh, I bet not.
You know,
Yeah.
and the decisions that were made, I think the way everything played out in court, I went to that trial every day, and as the trial went on, I saw that the police work we did there was top notch. The police work that we did was never questioned in trial, and that's why the defense had to come up with what they were trying to do, blame it on that poor kid Dylan, who did nothing but defend his family to his death. You know, we worked together with many different agencies, and we worked together greatly. And the Illinois State Police and other law enforcement community members have recognized how well that worked. You know, everybody had a part, everybody took care of their part, and it didn't matter what the part was. We all worked together. Our focus was one thing, and that was to bring Chris Harris to justice. And for somebody to even think it was just make a phone call, textbook deal, it wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. And that's something that, you know, the state police models all homicide task force after now, is the way we did it there. You know, and other people have given me a call to ask me to come talk about it, but until everything's over, you know, I want to make sure the appeals are done. I'm not going to say a word to jeopardize anything.
Yeah, that's right. You see, we those of us on the street just consider that a closed thing and it's all done. We forget that there are appeals.
There's an appeal process that Mr. Harris is going through. Now, Jason's not, but Chris, with 5 consecutive life sentences. And I think just, working with our state's attorney, he's observed the kind of dedication and the kind of will that we have to do things the right way. And I think that's why Jonathan's standing, behind my administration and behind me in this candidacy. He knows we want to do the right thing all the time. We don't take shortcuts. And I think on the GK shows, I'm there for the long haul. From the minute it starts till the minute it was over. I was there. I was out in the field. I went out and did things. Chief Erlenbush and I are the ones that we took every tip and reviewed every tip that came in on the phone lines. So that was something we do from midnight to 2 or 3 in the morning. It was just something that it wasn't standard. It was something you wanted to get done and serve justice.
What
to
you're
the
saying in
family.
essence is there's so much that goes under the radar, so to speak,
Oh yeah.
that we have no cognizance, nor should have any cognizance of. But it's a 24/7 situation.
Yeah, and like I said, there was a TV program on not too long ago about it, but all they did was villainize Dylan. They didn't really get into the nuts and bolts of what we did or what we did the first 24 hours, what we did the first 48 hours, why we went here, why we went there. It was just something that when you get into it, your adrenaline flow is just constant. I mean, I didn't sleep for 10 days. Didn't think I could ever do that in my life, but I did. You just went on and on and on.
On adrenaline.
On adrenaline. And then, like I said, that first night we knew whoever did that, it wasn't somebody just driving off Route 10, stopping at the G place and killing a family. We knew whoever did it knew them simply because of what was taken out of the house. We knew we had forensics there that we had to take our time and work and handle in the right way. So we didn't rush things. And I know people get antsy. They want to know this, they want to know that. I wasn't going to speak about certain things because the person that did it was there. And the way we handled it, and it just wasn't every decision just wasn't me going, we got to do this. No, I sat down with Lieutenant Brad Colebrook. I sat down with Chief Erlenbush. We met every morning, we met every afternoon, and we met every night to discuss everything that we were doing. So it was just a great group effort, and it also showed that we can cooperate with anybody. There's a lot of talk about, well, there's no cooperation here, there's no cooperation there. That couldn't be farther from the truth. We work well with everybody. We work well with our fire departments. It's just things get thrown out there at certain times to see if they stick, and they're not going to stick because they're not true. I like to think I can go anywhere and talk to anybody, and it doesn't matter whether we like each other or not. I've worked with people that way for 25 years. The end is get the job done. It doesn't mean we got to go have a Dairy Queen when we're done. Did the job get done, and did it get done right? That's all I care about. So
You notice he said Dairy Queen instead of Old Joe's.
The horrid case that you're talking about harkens back to the beginning of our program when you were discussing drugs. On your list of priorities of things that you wish would just go away, how high is the drug issue?
Well, we're going to have to keep working at it. No doubt about it. We're going to have to keep working at it.
Always going to be with us.
It is,
Sheriff.
and if it's not this, something else down the pipe's going to come along. That's just the way nature and people are. They're going to find something else eventually down the road, and we just got to try to stay on top of it the best we can. And for me, and for what I think for the sheriff's office, it's the way we operate. We're going to, like I said, we're going to continue to work with SIG. We're not going to shut anybody out because in the end, we want all the same thing. We want them locked up, and we want the drug flow to stop. But I'd also be, that's what I mean. I'd have false hopes to say, oh, we're going to wipe drugs out. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. But we can slow it down, and we can make make our streets safer for the kids, you know, because when they're going up to our kids, like I said, and just handing it to them,
Yes.
you know, it's not the big wig in Chicago is not the one handing it to them. It's not the big wig in Decatur handing it to them. It's the middleman here that's handing those drugs to our kids, and those are the guys I'm going to go after.
It's like getting a little sample of cheesecake at the
Exactly.
market, you know, and
Yep.
you think, well, that's good. I'll buy some of that.
Well,
you
it's
know?
like buying a mini Blizzard, and 2 days later, give me the big one.
You betcha.
know, that's the way it is. You know, it is.
Speaking
you know?
of being hooked.
Exactly. You know, and that's what I mean. It's the middleman here hooking our kids. It's not the big dog. You know, so I'm going to kick the little dog.
Well, tell me about the economics of running your office, Sheriff. These are tough times as far as our public bodies are concerned. All could use a little more money, no question about that. How to generate it is another story. You have a budget that you set forth as you work with the county, and it's my understanding that you've always stayed within your budget. That has to be difficult to work with, because I suspect that you'd be tickled to death if you could add 2 or 3 more men to your staff.
Well, see, my budget is set every fall, and then it begins December 1st, and then ends on the following November 30th of the following year.
Excuse me.
I have a personnel line item. That's what we pay our deputies. That's what we pay our correctional staff. That's what we pay our civilian staff. I don't save money there. I save money on things we do and don't buy. You know, off my $1.9 million budget, I have to run a jail, I have to feed the prisoners, I have to pay for their medical, and I have to pay for the civilian staff to run it. You know, so that takes what I can use just to run the operations of the sheriff's department down to about $1 million. I don't have another $800,000 to put toward the deputies. So we have to be very intelligent on how we spend that money. And what we do is we look at what we have. You know, we can talk about technology. We use technology. You know, we use Facebook in a covert manner. We don't go out talking about things like that, okay? The only thing I haven't done is I didn't get a website. So in between all the murder cases and everything else we were doing, I probably should have took the time to get my website up, but I didn't prioritize that, and that's on me, and I'll get that done. You know, that's going to be my goal very quickly to get that done. You know, but we've also updated the jail. You know, when I first come in, the doors didn't lock, so I probably
that's an
should.
issue.
The jail,
Yeah.
and the doors won't lock.
Yeah, you know, so that was a priority, so we fixed those.
I would think that'd be a
you
priority.
know, so you got to prioritize things. You know, the first year I was there and the second year I was there, we had people in jail with medical problems.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Every time something went wrong, I had to pull a deputy in off the street. We had to go to the hospital, sit at the hospital,
Oh, yeah.
and you and I and the rest of the taxpayers were paying for it.
Right.
Eventually, we got the ordinance to where we got to do that at the public aid rate, okay? So there was a savings. But it got to be where they knew as soon as they said, oh, I don't feel good, I got this pain, off to the hospital we go. Well, then we'd find out, well, gee, the family's out there waiting on them, you know? So it was kind of a little bit of a game. Well, by bringing in the medical staff inside the jail, took all that away.
No field trip.
No field trips. Exactly, Judy. You know, we handle everything there that we can. If we have to go to the hospital, sure, we take them to the hospital, no doubt about it. We don't want anybody to get sick or have any issues that, you know, but we took away the field trips. You know, we have a nurse on staff. We have a doctor that comes. We offer everything they need. And the best part about it was it took the medical disbursement of the medicine out of the hands of the jailers. You know, now the nurse is preparing the medicine, putting the names of the people that are supposed to get it, and all we got to do is hand it to them. We're not taking the pills, dumping them, and doing it. That's all done. And we're doing that for less than what it was we were doing it when I first got there. I think my first year, medical was a little up over $65,000 a year. Now we control it normally to less than $40,000 a year.
And you're saving that time waste of
Oh,
the
yes.
deputy
That's
that
the
has
other
to
spin-off.
sit there
Right.
at the hospital for half a day doing nothing productive
Right.
at all except babysitting.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of other things you have to pay attention to other than just paying attention to the operations of the law enforcement side. This is a big picture here, and like I said, in running that jail, you have to stay on top of all the laws that come out from the Department of Corrections. Running the jail and working out at Lincoln and Logan is two different things. I had people out at Lincoln and Logan that retired, wanted to come up work the jail. They came and worked the jail, and after 2 days said, I'm not putting up with this.
Yeah.
It's totally different. It's totally different, and people don't understand that. It's not a glamorous job up there. Our median amount of people in jail runs between 40 and 50 people.
You're kidding.
No, and that's how we base our insurance, on what we pay for our medical, is on our numbers. If our numbers are down below our median number, then we get a rebate. If it goes up above that median number, then we pay the extra. So they kind of offset one another. One day we'll be down below the median, the next day we'll be up. So they kind of offset one another. We're really right there normally at that one number.
Any given day, there are how many in jail?
Well, I believe yesterday there was 42.
Isn't that incredible?
I'm amazed. I bet
That's
I bet
incredible.
nobody in this county, other than the people who are in law enforcement, have any idea
Right.
that that's the
Half a dozen or a
common
dozen, yeah.
census.
Well, last summer after we did our roundup, that boosted us up, to the low 60s.
A little more insurance there.
Yeah, we had to pay a little more insurance, but they quickly took their pleas and went to prison, so we got back down.
Do we
right
have,
around
if
numbers.
we have to house somebody in, say, McLean County or Macon County, is there a reciprocity arrangement there? Let's say you're full up here and the overflow has to go to some other county, then they have to be reimbursed, or then do we take somebody from their county?
Well, that's where having a relationship with all the other sheriffs pays
Yeah.
off.
Uh-huh.
Sheriff Mike Emery up in McLean County during the G murders was great to me. I mean, he took, obviously I couldn't have Chris Harris and Jason Harris in the same jail.
Yeah.
And McLean County took Jason and kept him for us, didn't charge us a dime. I mean, we had to do all the shuttling of Jason, and if he hadn't, had to be over in Pekin for juvenile court, which we had to do a few times, I'd go up, pick him up, take him to Tazewell County, take him back and come back, but McLean County was great to us, but that reciprocity also comes in too, Bill. They had a couple public officials have problems up there, and I housed them down here for him. So that's where having, the ability to call up sheriffs. I've got one in another county now that's involved with our drug cases that we're doing that needs to be in another county.
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
not
that's
charging
like
us.
the old horse trading back in the
Exactly.
good old days,
Yep. Yep.
Sheriff, if money were not an object, what a conundrum that is. Anyway, if you could have one wish for your department, what might it be? I'm sure you have a large wish list. What one thing would you like to do if money wasn't the object?
If money wasn't the object, all I'd have to do is raise the salaries, and there wouldn't be a personnel issue.
Right.
That's pretty well put. I'm sure.
It'd be pretty plain and simple. The people that have left the sheriff's office didn't leave because of me. They left for monetary reasons.
Sure.
And I think that shows right now with the support that the deputies are giving me. They asked me to stay. They asked me to run again. And out of respect to them, I am.
And not because you're a pushover.
No, not because they know how I am. They know what they're getting here, and they like that. If there's an issue, I address it. I don't let it run, and I don't let it become a big problem. We nip it, and we nip it in a hurry. I haven't disciplined anybody in 3 years. No need. Haven't had a grievance in almost 8 or 9 years. They know when something's going on, I'm going to tell them what I think. They have an opportunity, if they think it'll work this way, I'll let them do it their way. But if it doesn't work, then I'm going to have some input. Like I said, as long as the job gets done, I don't care how, but it needs to get done, and they understand that. If they don't see me for a couple weeks, as far as, my evening shift and night shift, they go, "Hey, Sheriff, where you been?" So I've been here every day. They go, "Well, I haven't seen you." I go, "Well, then you're doing your job."
It's like the olden days with your dad. He didn't have to spank you because you knew he could.
Yeah.
And so you better toe the mark.
Right. And guys understand that, and I understand some things happen. A guy might wreck a car. I understand that accidents happen. But if we show a pattern of where we wreck a car 2, 3, 4 times, then we got
Now
a
there's
problem.
something showing.
Then we got a problem, and it's going to come out of their pocket, not the county's. And because they're out there driving, we 632 square miles we got to cover. They're going to hit a hole, or they're going to get into an intersection, and not be able to get stopped. It happens, and I understand that part of it.
Potholes are going to be arising for you.
They're going to be terrible. They're going to be terrible this spring. But like I said, if salary-wise, I wish, and we have. I mean, when I started, the beginning deputy was making $22,000 a year. They were all working 2 jobs.
Not very much.
Now that starting salary is almost $41,000. We've brought it up. I've been able to work with the county board the last 12 years, and they've seen the need, and now the guys aren't having to work as many hours off duty,
Yeah.
Well, plus, it costs to train a person. And if you're training them and then sending them on to someplace where they can make more money, that's not efficient either.
Well, and what is not being said is I'm also hiring people that are already certified. They've already been through this, the State Police Academy or the Police Training Institute in Springfield. So not all of it is just being washed down, the drain. They're coming in, they're giving us a couple years, and then they're looking at other places. Some of them they just had to come and learn the area. They just had to learn the county and how to get around. They already knew the job. So we're not sending money, frivolously out the window. The last couple guys had experience and they've stayed here. Well, matter of fact, out of probably the last 5 guys we've hired, only 1 didn't have experience and had to go through the academy, and he's still here.
Good.
So the personnel thing, I've heard that the whole time I've been here. What they're not telling people is the biggest majority of personnel is the part-time people working in the jail. That's where the list gets big. 3 jailers that I had for a couple of years are all now Illinois State Police troopers. But those are the kind of people you want back there working. You don't want people back there working that are going to get you into lawsuits. You don't want it. We've seen what happens. So I'm going to keep hiring people the right way. The first thing I was told when I went to the sheriff's meetings when I was elected was you don't want a merit board commission. Because that's when patronage starts entering into things.
Exactly.
You keep the hiring process in-house. We have an application process. We have a 180 question paper they have to come in and do, and then they go under an oral interview with our detectives. We do a background, and we also have a qualifying test. So we do a lot of things that people don't know about, and then they talk about, and they're totally wrong. We do our business when we hire people.
I dare say you're quite a juggler. You have to juggle the deputies, you have to juggle the county board, you have to juggle the jail, you have to juggle the budget.
Well, I think you can probably also say I'm probably the only sheriff in a lot of years that hasn't had problems with the county board.
Yeah, I noted that.
Not one dispute.
That's that's interesting.
When I spend money, I go and tell them what I'm doing.
Yeah.
My law enforcement committee, we meet the first Thursday of every month. I go and tell them what I'm doing.
Communication door is open.
The door, yes.
Yeah.
It's just that when I get out in the field and I'm in an investigation, I'm an intense person. Sense knows it. But that's just me. That's just my makeup. And people misread that. I've been an athlete all my life. Well, till I was 50, and then
Got to go to more Portland.
yeah, then Dairy Queen took over. I'm an intense person. That's how I've been trained. People I worked with when I came on the job, They were intense. They were go-getters. We went after things, you know, and that's what I've carried over with what I do, you know, and some people can't take that, you know, in the jobs that, you know, that since I've had, you can't say one thing and then go do another.
Namby-pamby, no, sir.
Because it'll come back and haunt you. And that's why I'd rather tell somebody what I'm thinking and what I'm going to do. And if that hurts their feelings, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. But we're going to get the job done.
Well, thank you very much. The Timex on the wall there says that we have to quit this morning, the Sheriff. Our guest this morning has been Sheriff Steve Nichols, one of 2 candidates for the county office next week. The quote that I'm going to close with has nothing to do with the 2 candidates who are vying for the sheriff's job, but old Adlai Stevenson made this famous comment once. He said, I'm going to offer my opponents a bargain. If they'll stop telling lies about us, I'll stop telling the truth about them. Well,
exactly right.
That was very appropriate.
Right.
It doesn't hold true for the 2 candidates we have for this office. We're lucky to have the candidates we do. We're lucky to have had the sheriff we've had with us for the last few terms. We wish him well, and thank you very much for your service to the county, Sheriff.
Well, thank you, Bill and Judy. You've been friends for a long time, yes. and I really appreciate saying that you're allowing me to be part of your life, you know, that I'm a friend with you. That makes me, you know, as I get older, you know, I appreciate the people that, you know, have kind of guided me over the few years and given me information on what they think we should do and look like and how we should act. And you 2 are perfect examples of that. And if everybody in the county was as gracious as you 2, we probably wouldn't have too many problems.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Pleasure.
Thank you for
thank you
Viewpoint.
guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, sir.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.